Okay, here we go, guys. Couple quick things. First, thanks for the people that got back to me. A couple of the complaints where the video was too long, so I'll try and make it as quick as I can. Um, so let's go first. A couple people asked where the slices where I showed um, the power slice is here at golfclashnotebook.io. So anyone that doesn't know this site, this is the go-to site for, I mean, it's the site that I basically learned how to play from. As far as I know, it was the original thing to go to for all the info. I could be wrong. Um, so you'll see on the green top there, all those tabs. And if you go through all those tabs, a lot of questions will be answered. Like if I click wind, see there's the ring method, okay, that there's a whole bunch of videos there. Now I had a bit of a hard time because I didn't understand the ring method. So when I was first watching the videos, they weren't being explained sort of in like in a a 101 sort of a way. So we're going to get to that in a sec. The power slice one here. Okay, so when you hit the tab power slice and you get to here, you'll see Nathan Taylor on the bottom. And what I did was click all of these different clubs. So the long iron section, I clicked every section. And then what I did is save this, what's on the screen now, made it a little smaller, cut it, and then put them all together, taped them all together in my notebook. So this is extremely handy, especially if you're playing multiple accounts because you're going to have different sets of clubs. Like I've got some real newbie sort of accounts, a medium account, and then a strong account. So when I have that all there handy, because these shots come up all the time, you probably don't realize how much they do come up and how helpful they are on all sorts of different scenarios. So um, when you're doing the power slice, okay, so let's say you had the backbone and let's say you've got the backbone five. So one, two, three, four, five is 20 rings. So if you were doing a power slice, you have to remember to make your wind adjustment like you were normally going to shoot, make that adjustment, then add 20 rings against the wind. Okay, so we'll go into that too in a minute, but that's where this is here. The other thing is, it's been a long time since I've played newbie accounts in the tours, and that's what the notebook, like I keep notebooks of the different tours. So when I was going back in my old notes, first of all, I could see that I've really improved since then. But secondly, it's the par three, so I can get by playing better players all the time by and better clubs by just playing smart and knowing the par threes. Your goal is really when you have the newbie clubs, just get it on, make your birdie or eagle, whatever is sort of normal for the hole, right? Get through that. Like you're always going to lose to a guy who pulls out an APOC 7 and you've got, and like me, like a big topper four or something, and the guy smashes a power five ball way down. And like sometimes you just can't beat them. But knowing the par threes is where you're going to get them because you're going to be prepared when they're not for the adjustments and stuff. And so go through that for a sec. So on golfclashtommy.com. Okay, and anyone that hasn't seen Tommy before, he's got tons, he's got the most content of everybody. So I like he's an amazing player. I find that he doesn't sometimes come across maybe the translation from Swedish to English. He's gotten a lot better since he first started. So on his site, if you go to the tours, so let's say if I was playing like right now on the little account, I think I got up to tour eight today. So let's go to the tour eight tour. And when you go to that tour, right, you can see the holes and the elevations. And that's important. I would say 90% of tee shots are plus 10%. So that's normal. But so when they change is when you should know. So he's got the elevations there. You can see the hole and elevation. Plus, he's got a little YouTube on every hole of him playing the hole, right? So that's always a good thing to look at. But the elevation is the thing. So that's why I made my notebook was to write all that stuff down, and then I could make notes on each hole, but especially on the par threes. So let's say, like on this hole, for instance. it says elevation's 30%. So most people don't understand a 30% elevation. Let's see when I click on the hole here. So see this hole, like we've all played this hole before. This was on the Golden Shot a few times ago. And it's important to know that elevation. If your opponent doesn't know, he's going to be way off on his ring adjustment and, or just get lucky. But that's where you're going to get them is by printing those off. So you have them handy. I just put my par threes together. So because there's three sets of courses on each tour, right? And I put all the in alphabetical order. So I've got, say this is Eagle Peak. I'll have Eagle Peak, hole two. Let's go to the next one is here, hole four, right? And have those elevations written down. So you can just, when you see the hole pop up, you can just quickly look. Now, when you're playing, before you play a hole, like let's just say you go to play a game and you're playing the regular hole, it tells you what hole you're playing. So you can go in your notes and just go, okay, this is Eagle Peak par five or hole five par four. And that hole is going to be in front of you and any notes that you've made for that hole. So let's say that hole, like this is the hole we were going to play, right? This is kind of an interesting hole here because there's ways if you get certain winds that you can, hit a power hook like we've talked about or something like to bounce and get down that hill to have an easy. And when you make a good shot, right, is you write it down in your book. I had this wind and I played it this way, and that's how you're going to improve on those. But on the par threes, it's crucial. So um, when you're about to play let's say you're going into the shootout now, they don't tell you what hole you're going to play. So you sort of have to memorize. The way I do it is that let's say these Eagle Peak holes, see all the trees or all those like the maple trees, right? And then you just sort of memorize. And then this one is not. This one's just the straight dark green holes. It's not popping up, but yeah, I just sort of knew them by color. And that's how you could flip. Then you'll just memorize them. I mean, after you play them a few times, you're going to know which holes are for which courses, okay? And I would say if you're on one tour specifically, right, that you have notes, like when I got to tour nine is when I started doing that originally, because that's when I started not winning as much as I used to win because the wind got stronger and people were better than me because they were playing the ring method. Okay, so I would say when that's where you get all your clan points. So you got to get to at least two or nine or ten to start throwing down some points. I mean, it's you can play all day on two or four, but you're only getting a few clan points when you win. So anyway, that's that. Like I could go on more, and if anyone ever has any questions or wants any like pictures of my notes, I'm more than willing to share my notes with you guys. Okay, so let's go now. Now we're going to talk about the rig method. Okay, so I'll show you sort of what I do. Okay, and it's hard to explain when you're not playing. So let's go into the pictures here. And so let's say we were playing this hole here. Okay, so you can see I've got an APOC 3. Okay, and I just want to go down the middle and I don't want to go too far. You can see where my Kingmaker ball is there. I don't have a lot of topspin. I don't want to go through into the next rough. I just want to be right around where that guy is, right? So I make the first thing you should always do is look to see if you're max or minimum. So you would do like an overhead view of your club and try and stretch it out to see where am I in my club. This driver shot here, you're always in max, so I don't have to look at that. But what I was just saying, we'll go over in a sec. So see my Kingmaker ball, not a lot of topspin, just left spin. I just want to bunt it out to where he is. Okay, so I've got this is where I want to be as my lineup. Okay, now this is when I'm going to adjust my rings. Okay, you should always have the wind arrow facing straight north or straight south. When you first start doing this, always have it facing straight north. You're going to see sometimes when you adjust, a tree might be in your way, and that's when you would flip it over going south. But for now, let's just say that we're always going to adjust with that wind arrow facing straight north. Okay, and I'm going to show you. So you should all have the Golf Clash notebook app or the Caddy app. That Caddy app just came up there. So in this notebook app, okay, so I enjoy playing the most is when I'm playing on my iPad and I've got my phone beside me that I can put the adjustments into. When I play on my Samsung phone, I can have this app on my phone while I'm playing. Uh, which is if when I'm playing in tournaments or if like that. I find that the way I play the best. I'm still just getting used to the iPad, and but I played because I have the adjustments right there in front of me, and I'll take a picture of my phone actually in a second, how that app works on your phone. Um, Now let's go back to our pictures here. Okay, so you see I had 5.2 wind and it was facing straight north. Okay, so I would now look over at my app, right? So I had it was Turbo, and it was I think was it 4.3 wind or no, it was 5.2 wind. Okay, so we reset this green arrow on the top resets everything. Okay, I'm going to use my APOC, so I click that. Uh, This ball thing here, you should always have the right ball in because that changes your wind arrows, okay? So that was a Kingmaker Power 3 ball, okay? I had a 5-2 wind, right? And off that tee was a 10% elevation, okay? And that's why it's important to write those elevations out when you're about to play a hole. So you know the elevation. You just look, there's my elevation. You plug your stuff in here. Once you get to your, you pick out your shot, then you come to this screen and you'll have difficulty at first getting through everything time wise. I did. I kind of went backwards, if that makes sense, a little bit by not getting my shots off in time, etc. And it's going to be frustrating. But trust me, you'll just get really fast at it and you'll have no issues once you get going. So that was a 10% elevation with a 5-2 wind. Okay, so you can see on the APOC, the max is 2.8 rings. Okay, so that's how many rings I'm going to adjust. Once I plug the wind in, elevation, I've got my power 3 ball, 2.8 wind. Okay, so what I would do now is just look over at my screen and see. So I've got the arrow facing straight north and see my down below here where that ball is on the take shot button. Excuse me. So you can either use that orange bar, right? That line on the bar as your spot of where you're going to adjust to, or you can use the ball. For me, it just depends on when I line it up of what looks right. So here the ball looked right because it was just lined up straight. And see, I've got a line there from the middle of the yellow, okay, to where that top of the ball is. And so the yellow is one, the orange is two, and then zero point 0.8 of the blue is my 2.8. So I'm going to bring that target right down so that top of the ball is right in the middle of that target. Excuse me. So that's how you're going to adjust. Okay. Um, I could go further into that. I'd like to play a few games. I'm going to try somehow to get this onto a YouTube on my own, so it doesn't eat up our Facebook page. Uh, I'd really like some feedback to see like where you guys are at. I want us all to get better as a group. I know I have a little more experience than other guys, and I love to help and I want to share info because I want our group to do better, and especially in the tournaments. And when you can dive, I put a bunch of notes on our page, and I know it's not completely organized yet, but we'll get there. But we need to add info into there, and that's how we're going to get better as a group. That's where all the points are when you start raking in the tournaments, and uh, the way you handle your account by not trying to be too high. Like if you're only like let's say you were a B player, like if we rated people as A, B, C, and you're a B player, you don't want to be playing in A sections against all the A players. But when you're playing and you're grinding it out on the regular tour and you're putting up all these numbers, you're going to get too high. And so we'll talk about that another time. So this is that one. I'm going to show you one more example here. And I'm going to say something else too is that, like, and I noticed playing at these lower level accounts, not having clubs, like when these guys have better clubs than you, isn't a good excuse. Like I just ripped through like 4 tours, right, with no clubs at all. I'm using a Viper. I was using my Junglist was by Roughing Iron. Like I have no clubs, and I won at one point 30 games in a row, lost a game, and then won like 20 in a row. You can beat these guys by just playing smarter and knowing the wind and the elevations. So like I'll show you a guy here. Okay. So on my Gerbil account, I hadn't at this point I hadn't even played 1,000 games on that account yet. And I was playing a guy here 16,000 games, right? And he's just not a very good player. Look, he had an APOC 7, and you'll see me. I put a thing here of me. Look, that's me laughing at him when he pulled out his B-52 7 in the shootout. You can beat these guys by just being more prepared and better with the rings than they are. And that's all it is about learning that stuff. Let's see if I can find the pictures I did. I've got other examples here. Sorry, guys, I'll try and make this as quick as possible. Okay, so this hole came up here, right? And this, see, this is one of those big adjustments. It's a 30% elevation, right? So I want to show you about how I go about adjusting one. So the first thing you do is take your overhead view. So in this hole, I took my overhead view and I pushed my Cat 4 there as far as it would go, right, before it was going to become driver, right? So that's my max. That's where max is, okay? And you can see right where that yellow bullseye is. There's my max line, okay? Now, you'll see me here pulling it down, right? See me pull it, that's when I turned into a Goliath. So that's my minimum. So and you just got to do this mentally while you're playing. So you take where your minimum zone is. So I've drawn a line on the bottom, and then your maximum zone, and I've drawn a line on the top. Okay. So where my landing area is, let's say that's a football field. I'd be about on the 40-yard line. So that's about 40%. Okay. And we're talking very minimal. When you get into the 40 or 42% or whatever, hardly that's going to change. It might change zero point 0.1 of your rig maybe, but let's say that that's 40%. Okay. Then I look sideways. Okay, so now I've got my landing zone. I look to make sure that's where I want my spot to be. I always take a sideways view. Where's my ball going to bounce? And I drew a line there because I'm trying to envision that's where the ball would normally roll out to, right, with the backspin on. But with the wind in my face, I know that that guide is going to compress and the ball's going to come back towards me because when you're shooting into the wind, right? We all know that, like, because we've hit shitty shots before where it bounces and it just doesn't go anywhere, or when you have a big downwind and your ball just takes off. So I tried to envision with the 7-2 wind of where my ball would come back to. So I'm looking at where my ball is going to bounce. I like that spot, right? So now let's go back to this here. Oh no, sorry, it's in the so see, when I made that adjustment, so our wind was 7-2 in our face, right? So, and we see I plugged in the 30% elevation. So I circled the 30%, right? And the power three ball, 7-2 wind, okay? And see on the right that bar. Now that's your adjustment bar. So your min is always set up at 50. So it goes like or it depends on the clubs, to be honest with you, of where it's set up, and we'll have to do that another time. But I knew it was 40% roughly of my max line, right? So that will change all the min numbers, or the medium numbers, I should say. So see all the medium numbers are in orange, right? So if I had clicked on APOC, we would just see that, but it's showing them all. So on my cataclysm, right, when I went, so 30% elevation at 40% of our max was 4.1 rings. So that's what we adjusted to. You can see here, so you can see, remember where my landing area was, let's go over it again. See where my circle is, where I wanted to land, okay, and then envision it here. So where that middle of the yellow, now I had something to adjust with, but you can see I'm pulling, and whereby that, if you can envision where that yellow circle would be, it's so the yellow's one, red's two, blue's three, the clear is the four, right? Point one. That's right about where my landing area was. And why I've made a circle down below is because it's very important when you're pulling down, like off a cliff or into a bunker, you always add just a touch of power, either A when you're shooting or just add a bit of a ring at the end. Like push it because you got to hit it a little harder. It always takes off a little of your power for whatever reason when you're adjusting into a lower ground. And again, that's a discussion for another day. So anyway, I had originally a video of the shot because it came in real nice and I didn't haul it, but I mean I was tight. Um, so that's how the important part is that bar though. See that bar on the right? So because not everything's a perfect world where it's 150, you know, 25 or whatever it's the way it's set up. Um, so you just need to know if you play with that bar on the right, 90%, 80%, and just play that mid number, right? So where that 4.1 is showing there. Okay, now I know not all of you have this exact app. There's the Clash Caddy app, which also has that adjustment bar. There's this app here is the one that I like the best. This app on the phone, though, you could play it right off, and I'm going to show you quickly. I'll find my phone here. Okay, just bear with me one sec. If you're playing on a Samsung device, okay, then this is for you. So, pick this up here, get my camera on. Okay, so here's my phone, okay, and let's hit Golf Clash here. There you go. Okay, so see up here, let me just move it, sorry. So see this tab, that green tab there, okay. So when I'm playing, I can just hit that. And if anyone needs help with this on how to set it up or use it, see, I could use the Notebook app right there. I've got my elevation, my power, what club I'm using. And when I click it, like I just put the wind in and there's the bar, right? And you can set on your Samsung device, you could use this app while you're playing. Okay, you cannot do it on your Apple device. So that app that I'm showing you right now, when I'm playing on my iPad that I'm doing this video from, I use this app on the side while I'm playing. Okay. Now, if you're playing off an Apple, so either if you have two devices and if you're using two devices and the device you want to use on the side for the adjustments, is you could use that notebook app and it'll look like on Apple, like the one I was just showing you, okay? On a Samsung, it'll look like this one. For the Apple devices, okay, let me see here. Where is it? Oh, I know why, because I moved it into this thing here, I think. Okay, let's get rid of that for a second. Okay, here it is. So see the one on the bottom right there of the main screen. It says Clash Caddy and it's got the bullseye, right? So click that. And this is Clash Caddy and it looks different. It takes a little while to get used to it, but this is just as good. And this is what it's going to look like for the Apple device. So if anyone needs help setting that up, okay, you could also on a Samsung device, you could also use this and play with it on your screen. I used to do that before the notebook one got updated. If you haven't updated your apps recently, go in and update both of these apps because they're now more playable. And I'll show you I can play on my iPad. I can play with that if I want to, right? So if I go, so see when I had it open, see this thing here? I can do this while I'm playing, but what happens is it shows you disconnecting on the screen and it's annoying for your opponent. It's not annoying for you, who cares? And you put in your wind right here and you can play and you just get rid of it and watch. 5 seconds will go by and see, and then the thing pops back up and there I go. And once I drag it down and then I put in my new adjustment, whatever, get rid of it, and then it'll come back every 5 seconds. See how it just keeps coming back? So that's how you use it on your Apple device. That's supposed to get fixed too, that it's going to be a little better. I don't like having the clutter on my screen while I'm playing. I prefer to play with just a nice open screen. Okay, so we've got through that. If anyone, I'm going to try and get a YouTube channel going so I don't waste your guys' time on this Facebook. If anyone has questions about anything, feel free. Always message me on Facebook. I'm always available for you guys. Um, we've got to do a haul over, and I think I have a lot of good advice, especially on accounts, on how to set up accounts, how to relegate your accounts, promote your accounts. I think everyone should have two or three. Just start an account, even if you don't want to right now, and just because you could just pop chess, and it doesn't do anything. It's just you'll just have an account just starting to grow, even and we have a GC Crush uh, clan that we could just toss those, even if you're not playing, just toss it in there, and just to go in there once in a while to crack a few chests and get out. I don't care about that clan. It's just a spot to hide and keep, so we can keep together, like when through the chat in the clan, so we don't lose each other through stuff. Anyway, that's that. So thanks for your time, guys. Keep the feedback coming. Tell me what you like and what you don't like. I'd love to hear the feedback from you guys. and we'll talk to you later.